Got something in
Hey, it is me, Wanda B, and you are listening to the sounds of love and wine with Frankie Parker. I love Frankie Parker. You can check her out. She is once a month somewhere in the south suburbs. Red. Oh, I'm not even gonna mess it up. Check out Frankie Parker. Look where she is. It's in Richton Park on Salt Trail, next door to Flavor. What's the name of that lounge? Red Star. Red Star. Once a month, she's there. Peace, love, and wine with Frankie Parker. You are listening to He Said, She Said show on IntellectualRadio.com. We have some hot topics for you today. We are going to start out with thanking some of our sponsors. My dear MorteCosmetics.com. I have on my Runway Red. I almost wore it the entire year. I did switch it up for when she sent me some this back to red for the winter. So here we go. It is fall runway red at MorteCosmetics.com. Love for you to check them out. They have a full array of makeup. I just don't know how to do makeup, but I got something for the people like me who don't know how to do makeup. Because if you're an expert at doing makeup or sewing or singing and you have a talent or knowledge, you can share that knowledge and earn some extra income at the same time. See? So what you can do is sign up for crashface.com, and people like me can learn how to do the things like putting on makeup and other things like that. Check that website out for me. And so if you're an expert, check it out. Look, sign up today, crashface.com. You guys, I would love for you to go out to this at 9914 West Roosevelt Road in Westchester. Black-owned liquor store. How many of those do you see around? Young girl, too. Please check her out. Yes. I think she says she's 32. Owns a liquor store, 9914 Roosevelt Road in Westchester. Check them out. And then last week we were at room 183 at 4167 West 183rd Street. My ladies lost again. That's not funny.
Yeah.
That's not funny. I need a woman who knows sports. Bring your butt out to room 183, December 8th, when we do this game night. And I mean you. If you know anything about football, basketball, soccer, whatever sport you know, you better come out because we need you. We keep losing because they keep throwing out those sports questions and we don't know them. So if y'all can come out and help us, room 183, 4167 West 183rd Street in Country Club Hills, December 8th. Game night is going to be on.
So that's a good question. Are ladies faking it when they watching sports? If we can't answer the question, are we faking it?
Are we faking the
We faking it when we at the little bad thing and we got our jerseys on. We don't know what we looking at doing.
Made a field goal and we watching basketball.
Yeah.
Touchdown at the soccer game. I think we may be.
We faking it, okay.
Or we need more questions. Or I thought about, are there questions do men really know that much about women? We need a topic. What is the topic for women?
We got to find what they got to find their sports.
What is the equivalent for women? I don't think there is there a topic that they know?
Men pay more attention to women than women do men.
What? Okay, that's a whole nother topic. We'll get into that one. See, they like to start off early, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce them.
That's all I'm saying.
I have O'Kara here.
O'Kara's
part of the He Said, She Said team. O'Kara's starting stuff already with y'all.
Y'all doing?
Already starting stuff. And Xavier,
I'm here to start some stuff, too.
She likes to start stuff, too. That's why I have here on the panel today. Starters. And replace the bad word that I can't say because I'm on intellectual. Do not use curse words here. So replace that ish. They like to start ish. Lemuel. Hello. First timer here. He's a virgin to IntellectualRadio.com. So we like to have you here. He said, she said. And my dear Valencia, who is part of the He Said, She Said team.
Hey.
And I'd like to welcome my friends at Doing Us, who always supports our group on Facebook. You can join. We talk about the topics that we're going to talk about here today. And then my Facebook friends who join in the conversation, answer some of these questions. We love to. I see you, Katie Lowe. She has a show here on Tuesdays at 5 o'clock, Rhythm and Flow. I see you, Madeline. Madeline is every third Saturday, Divas Den. I see my Intellectual Radio family out there. I appreciate you all. Lakeisha, hey, y'all. Great show topics today. Please join in, especially, you know that one, this Black women responsibility, or should they take more responsibility? We're not going to get into that right away because that's going to get hot and heavy and deep. So that's coming up. Well, I want to ask you guys, Thanksgiving was just here, and in Black Friday, guys, do you think Black Friday is overrated? Friday.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't do that.
Yeah. I tried
No,
it one
I've
time
never done it in
just
my
to do
life.
it. I did it one time just because.
The TV, it seems like everybody needs TV.
I did need a TV. I was going crazy over just stuff for Christmas shopping for my kids, and it was overrated. And I stood out in the cold the year that I did it. And
did you like sleep outside?
No, I didn't sleep.
Okay.
But as soon as like we got done with Thanksgiving dinner, me and my girls, we loaded up. We had borrowed my brother's Suburban. We was in it. We rolled out to the outlet mall.
Fun.
We was out there, and it was the outdoor mall. So we weren't out on the inside. We were outside, and the lines was long, and people pushing. I'm like, no, I see you getting in line. I was one of them. I really was one of them. And when it was all over, and we all went home, the shelves were just as stocked. When we got there.
So when the deal's over?
They still had the same stuff. I was like, you know what? This was a waste of my time. And I over-purchased that year, had way too much stuff for the kids. It was ridiculous.
But that seems like because your children are grown. So this was a while ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago. It was a long
Okay.
time. Yeah, my kids grown. Yeah. It's over with.
I love grown kids.
I love it.
How old is your youngest?
My youngest is 23. Today is actually my oldest birthday. He's 25. Happy birthday!
Oh, what's his name?
Willie.
Willie has shout outs today.
Shout out to
birthday.
my oldest
Shout out to
baby.
Willie. Happy
Yeah.
birthday, young fella.
To be 25 again.
I
Would you
know.
go back to 25?
What I know now and go
Yeah, if I
back to
could take what I
25.
know now,
Yeah,
I'll
I'll
do
go
it.
back.
Yeah.
Yes, we want this knowledge at 25. We'd
I'll
be
go back.
like,
I didn't do too bad though. I was about to get married and stuff. I was doing all right. So
are the same person again?
absolutely.
Okay, then yeah.
Absolutely.
See, now I'm going back. I'm doing over.
You said you're doing a whole repeat.
Not everything. I ain't gonna do everything over, but it'll be a different.
You said a
story.
good chunk of it though. I may
Yes,
do something
Lord.
different.
It would be different.
I'm going to include you guys, 30 and up, doing us. Like I said, I appreciate you guys. I am going over to your page and see what you guys have to say on that topic of rated. I think so too. I just don't.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah, I
shop
never
like
do
that.
that.
But I don't shop like. Plus,
Yeah.
I like to boycott. I'm one of those.
Me too. Power to
boycott
the people.
Christmas.
Yeah, power to the people.
Though I did
Yeah.
find some really great sales. Thanksgiving, I found some great sales.
You know, if I was shopping for something, I guess, but I just don't see myself going out to buy something I may not need, and I
I
can see
wound up
myself
buying
doing
3
that.
pair of shoes.
Now,
Well,
shoes
you
is
need
that-
those.
is that- we
You
need
need
shoes.
those, girl.
right.
Shoes are not Black Friday.
Don't count.
Black Friday is the
No, I don't do
TVs
Black
and
Friday.
Why are you laughing? You always sit and laugh. Let me tell you something that I've learned about O'Kara. When he's like
Start
really is
laughing.
thinking something about us, he just sits and chuckles. And you have to come over here and get him
You know I love
shoes. You need
I know
shoes. How
she-
you
I
walk
know
in
she-
here?
I know she loves shoes.
I love shoes too. How did you walk in here? You gotta have
You
the
gotta.
shoes.
It's a
The shoes are
necessity.
the personality of the outfit. It just like, sets it off. You gotta have
Yeah,
them.
yeah, those are not Black Friday. Ladies, we don't count shoes as Black Friday shopping.
Good, okay. So I
No,
never do
shoes
it
is
then.
any day ending in day shopping.
Any day.
Any day,
every
and they
day.
don't put them on sale just for Black Friday.
They do not.
They? I don't
Oh,
think
I
they
don't
do.
think so.
No, they
Especially
don't.
not the store I found.
They know better than to have some shoes
Black Friday is
90%
like-
off. You trying to get people killed. You talking about a TV.
I agree.
You
I
got
don't
one 8.5 left in these shoes
Oh,
right
yeah.
here. Me and this
Right.
sister in here trying to get this shoe. We having some more problems than the TV.
Yeah.
Right.
Reality TV show. True.
It's
The last shoe.
Yeah.
season. I don't know if I wouldn't fight over a shoe, but I may
Push though.
push.
Like,
Trip. Is that a 7.5? Girl, they don't have no more.
Ooh, I don't know what. I
don't think I would. So you guys, it's gift giving time, as we said. What do you think about giving gift cards? So I was talking to someone who said that they were opting out of their family's grab bag because they don't want to deal with gift cards. They said that they want to give gifts, and she said every year she gets something she does not want. And she said one day what she gave to her, one year she got back what she gave her. Or then she said another year she was shopping with her sister-in-law and they bought that together and she got it back. She was like, what did you when you got it? She said, just give me a gift card. And they said, no, that's too impersonal. A gift card.
Give me a gift card.
I like to shop. So you're giving me the fun of going out shopping and not spending my money at the same time. Do you guys feel different? I think my ex has every gift card we ever got him, though. He never uses them. He doesn't use gift cards, so that would be a waste on someone like that. But what do you think?
Well, the person who really doesn't do a whole lot of Christmas shopping for people, like my mother, she buys her own gift and then gives me the receipt for me to pay her.
Right.
See, Mom, that makes sense.
For a very long time, she would do my shopping for my niece and nephew, and then let me know how much I owed her. So I only really buy for my mother, you, and my daughter. Niece and my nephew, they don't want some gift from me. They want gift cards or they want cash. So I give them either a gift card or I give them cash, and they happy with that. And then, I got my daughter and she's 3. So anything is.
See, now I'm going to tell you guys what I used to do with my children at 3. Whatever they didn't open, I'd take back and give them for their birthday. I would leave out the gifts.
Oh, wow.
I know that sounds tech, but they didn't know. You ever give them so many gifts at Christmas that they start opening some and leave the other one sitting there?
Nah, I never saw that happen.
Oh, my children
Nah,
did
they
that
ripped
every
everything
year.
first to see what they want to play with first. They didn't get distracted. It was more to rip open.
You're right. They'd open them all, but not touch after they got something they really liked. They didn't touch the other one. I would take those back, and you're now going to get that later. Because
See, as a person with no children, I think straight into buy a toy and they never play with it, or they play with it for a certain amount of time. Especially if you was out Black Friday trying to get it, and they only play for a certain amount of time.
But that's because parents, we don't realize that we gear our children towards what they really like. They don't know anything at 3. So when we bought them Elmo, we made Elmo their favorite character.
That's not always the case. At least
sometimes,
not for my
it's like you push those kinds of toys. So like my boys never played with the little bitty. I found that so annoying. So I replaced that with board games and games for learning and stuff. And that's how I was able to have fun with boys, because I was a girl. I didn't want to play with trucks.
Right. I think my children went to what they naturally. I would keep going, what about this? And then go to what they want. They would never flock to what I wanted them to. But I just stopped shopping for them. When you have grandparents and stuff and things like that,
Exactly.
I just let the grandparents
I let my
buy.
mother,
and we stopped buying for them and just let them enjoy everybody else's gifts. They got enough.
I tell you, Grandma Joe go to work. And let me tell you, my mother got clothes for my daughter until she's 5.
3, she has clothes.
She got clothes. She's like, look, boy, come get some of these clothes. The winter's coming. I got coats and all this stuff up here. My mother is a shopping fanatic.
See, that's perfect. You don't have to shop as much.
Work in. And I'm not a shopping fanatic, so we work together.
Is she the only grandchild?
No, my mama has 3, but the older ones, they older.
She the youngest.
So she the youngest. So she like, but I mean, she still does the same thing for my nephew and my niece, because we were Thanksgiving. I was like, hey, come on, pick some of these clothes. Pick these clothes you want, boy. Bunch of clothes. He go in there. He picked the clothes he want. My niece did the same thing. She had all our stuff. I had my brother's stuff. Yeah, so she's shopping fanatic.
Those are nice to have. So, your first year with your little man.
Oh my God!
Do you celebrate Christmas?
She about to cry. Go get the tissue. She's about to cry.
No, I'm good. But I mean, we haven't been seeing each other that long, so it'll be something simple.
Is this his first Christmas?
You talking about
Grandchild.
No, I'm talking about your grandchild.
my little man?
Your little man.
my little
I mean,
man.
that little man. I don't know if he's little.
Uh-oh. She thought she was talking about that fire. She wasn't about to cry. She was about to flashback.
Anyway, okay, yes.
Your
my little man, my
grandson.
grandson. I cannot wait to start shopping. But my daughter, because this is the first boy in our family in 40 years, and so my daughter is ecstatic that it's her son. So she is like buying everything, and hopefully she's listening, because you need to slow down and save the rest of us something to buy, because he has everything already.
How old is he?
He's 6 months.
Oh,
That's what I said. I thought this was his first Christmas.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm like, what are we gonna buy him? Because you can only buy him so much. And then,
Right, he can't use too much.
How much?
And he's gonna grow out of everything.
Right.
So.
And he's gonna. So yeah, when I went to New Orleans a couple months, he was the only one that got a souvenir. I brought him something back. So yeah,
Just
I can't
like a
wait.
grandma.
I can't
It's
wait
like
to shop
yes.
for my grandson. That's just gonna be the coolest thing ever.
Just like a grandma.
That's funny.
That's my baby.
Right,
I love
good
him
job.
so
That's how
much.
grandmas should be.
I love him so much.
So, do you guys feel that if a person brings a dish or liquor to a gathering, are they entitled to take what they didn't use home?
no.
If it's not completely used, they got half a bottle of Hennessy, does it come home with them?
That's
Or
tacky.
if they brought the macaroni and cheese and
That's
y'all didn't
tacky.
finish that up and I need this for tomorrow, what do you
That's
think
tacky.
about that? Bringing home the leftovers?
Depending on the macaroni and cheese, they might need to take it back.
It might be
Depending
going
on
up
how
the
they take it,
table.
they need to take it back. But no, in general, I think that's kind of tacky. I've actually gone to events where they say take it back, take some stuff back, depending
When
on
you
the
have
size.
so much,
Yeah.
you like
So
take your
much,
stuff with
some
you
people have
sometimes.
cellars full of liquor and that, no problem, but not a, mention now. Yes.
Does it have to be offered first? For
Yes,
them to
I
take
think
it
so.
back?
I think
And
so.
even still, I personally wouldn't take it.
Yeah, usually you kind of leave that there, especially if it's one of those events where everybody bring a bottle and you just add it to the bar, so
Yeah.
everybody drinks whatever. You don't really take that back.
I
Yeah,
think I agree.
Yeah,
that don't seem
no,
right.
you don't take it. You don't take
Now,
it.
if I just come to your house, sometimes I already have a bottle of vodka with me. I just happen to have one. If I bring my vodka with me,
For you to,
because
they may not have what you
I'm
drink.
drinking. If I bring it to like a private, personal type, because I brought it for me.
Right.
So
Yeah,
me
that's
is
cool.
gonna still keep it at the end.
I think that makes sense. If you didn't bring it as everybody bring a dish and you
Right,
brought a
right,
dish and then you're
right,
taking that back.
Right.
But
right.
if I brought this because it was BYOB,
Yeah.
and
If I showed up with my,
if I don't add it to a bar, then I'm probably gonna take it back.
I agree. I think
If
that
it's just
makes
a little
sense.
bit left, I might not. I'll just
And if
leave it.
you only drink Ciroc, and so you brought
Right,
Ciroc.
you bring what you drink.
Right.
Like I just found this vodka called Purity. Oh my God.
If the baby is invited, the Purity is going home with
It's
her.
going back with me.
She's not bringing it.
She's not bringing it for you.
She's not bringing
It's
it.
gonna be in her
She-
stash.
I'm finna say in her flask. Yes.
It's
And
in a
she might
flask.
share it, and she might share it.
I don't think she's sharing.
I
Don't
don't think
sound
so.
like
I'll
she's
let
sharing.
Mike.
It's
You
so
let her have-
smooth. It's distilled 36 times. It's so smooth. You taste it. Just, and I'll tell you where you go find it at your,
Tomcat said they've seen people bring wine coolers, but then drink your top shelf liquor.
Bring a six pack of beer.
Yeah. Of old Milwaukee, but they drinking the Heineken and the Stellas.
Hey, and for people out there that think they getting away with that, you're not. Because nobody said anything to you, don't mean they don't see you doing that.
You know what? I drink cheap wine. What is the I don't know the brand. I can't think of it right now, but it's very popular. But it's in.
I know which one you're talking
It's
about.
like the $6.99.
Barefoot.
Barefoot. I love Barefoot. But as I brought it to Thanksgiving places, I felt I was like, oh, you didn't think about what other people. I was like, what are they thinking about me? You barefoot drinking. And I was like,
yeah, right. I brought a whole bottle.
She turned it up with the barefoot.
I was like, ooh, that wasn't, you weren't thinking. I was thinking about I drink barefoot, buy some barefoot, and I plop it in. Their look was like, thank you.
That's
I was like, oh, no to self.
It's just like my cheap vodka that I like. It's really smooth too, but it's made by Seagram's. It's Seagram's vodka. And most people don't even know that Seagram's makes them.
I didn't know they made
They
a
actually
vodka.
make a good, really inexpensive one. So, if you like you know, on a nice.
But would you bring it to a party?
It's like $10. Taking it to parties because nobody really knows Seagram's makes vodka.
Can I go out on a limb and say Xavier like vodka? Like
I am a vodka drinker.
Let's go out there.
Let's go out there and say
I'm a vodka drinker. Vodka and lemonade.
Vodka.
Vodka and lemonade. Matter of fact, the perfect lemonade to mix with your vodka is this tangerine lemonade. It's really good.
I've never even heard of tangerine lemonade.
I can't think of who is by right now. But
it's not that Simply, because Simply makes
no, it's not Simply.
It ain't that simple. Oh
yeah, but you know what?
Simply with
Simply,
any
you know, I'm
kind
kind of into the holistic thing,
goodness,
and so Simply has high fructose corn syrup in it.
Now
so I don't.
Okay.
But this one does not have the high fructose corn syrup in it.
You have learned something new today. Or I don't think I've ever read the label. I just started drinking.
I'm a label reader, you know me.
It is delicious.
Yeah, it is. It is delicious.
I may do a couple sit-ups and keep drinking.
But I have heard that.
Run around the corner at the same time. The devil.
The devil is a lie. No, yes.
Edge with our lemonade drinking. So Stella Rose. Yes, people were talking about Stella Rose Tomcat. I'll have to Toussaint said he's bringing water. You're so much fun, but everybody drinks water. If they're drinking anything, they're drinking water, right? So I think that's a good thing to bring out. So thank you for all those topics 30 and up doing us, my sister group on Facebook. So join their group and also join He Said, She Said, because we talk about all different kind of topics all week long. And so we will get into this topic that came up in the group. Again, you can join in the conversation on Facebook, and I'll ask you all as you all are looking, if you see any comments here on the panel, chime in. So there was a post by a man that said, and you know what, I wanted to play it, and Mitchell Ruma, Unique Middle speaks, and his topic was we can hold Black women accountable for. And so he lists them all. In fact, I should try to play it. My dear super producer, I'm going to play it. I know I'm in the middle of the show, but yes, I'm going to do it. I'd like to play it for you guys. I did contact Mitchell Nkrumah. I'm butchering it. Forgive me, please, but hopefully watch your video. I contacted him to be on the show, and I had no response or not, but to ask him to call in the show. But if someone tells him now, he can still call in at 708-223-8953 and chime in at what made him write this. No.
Oh, he made a list of what?
I'm going to play it for you guys.
because I missed it. I want to hear it.
I know a lot of people saw it on Facebook. If you saw it already, you can join in but we are going to play it.
We can hold Black women accountable. Accountable for what you wear. We can't hold you accountable for going over a stranger's house in the middle of the night. We can't hold you accountable for drinking yourself unconscious at a party. We can't hold you accountable for dealing with a dude knowing he ain't take care of his first two kids. We can't hold you accountable for only wanting to deal with bad dudes. We can't hold you accountable for taking dudes to child support unnecessarily simply because you're bitter that he doesn't want you anymore. We can't hold you accountable for supporting a feminized version of a man while simultaneously saying there are no real men. We can't hold you accountable for how you raise your kids. We can't even hold you accountable for being women because in 2017, y'all saying there's no gender role, so there's nothing that a woman should do. Now, y'all know I don't play with the men. I hold the men accountable and I raise them to a high standard. But it seems like y'all don't want to be held accountable for nothing that y'all do. How can we grow together as a race if we just act like men are the only ones that got to change?
Okay. So, based on what he said, do we act like ones who need to change? And I'm going to start this conversation. I said I wanted to start off saying this because this happens so often. We are not talking about any woman in general, personally, let me fix that. This is a general statement about women. We don't know anyone's certain circumstance or why you did this or did this. And so I don't please don't take this personally. This isn't a personal attack because we don't know everyone's personal situations. This is a conversation about general. So not a personal attack on anyone. So please don't take anything we say that way. He said, she said was kind of created based on this as a way to communicate for us to hear the male perspective on topics, the female's perspective, and we try to really understand and hear each other. So I'm going to ask that we all come with an open mind and try to hear about this and hear what the women are saying and not absorb it as a personal attack, but just be open and come from an open place. So is there anything we can hold Black women accountable for about this topic?
Can I?
You please.
Okay, so what jumped off for me was, and I know I'm probably going to get in trouble with the women again, because I often do, but what jumped out at me was when he said, we support man, but yet talk about there are no real men. And I so agree with that. We support that. We talk about men are providers, yet you turn around and you say, well, I don't need him to do anything for me. I don't need this. We don't hold men to any freaking standards. The feminization of the male. And then we go with that man. If you know that he not okay with the LGB, what do you call it, all that?
Yeah,
thing,
those letters, LGBTQ.
Yeah, all of that, yeah. I'm all good with that. I don't, judge anybody on anything. However, when you're looking at the different people that are interacting with people, and then they run around talking about there's no good men, but they support all of those things, that lead to that, the cross. And I'm old school. On somebody's toes, just keep in mind I'm over 50, so it was a whole different thing when I was growing up. And so as I've seen things change over the years, we do support a lot of feminizing of the men, breaking them down as women in general. I think that women do break the men down, and then they complain about these broken men that we have running around here.
Agree with that. I'm going to go. Please chime in on Facebook. I'd appreciate it. Toussaint said, take it personal. Okay. And Keish said, a woman's style of dress needs to be accountable for what?
And I think for that question, really quick, I think that's kind of responding from that defensive woman side, that we're saying I can wear what I want to wear. The person should not, because I'm dressed a certain way. And unfortunately, we live in a world of should-ofs, and we need to stop saying what should have and deal with the reality. So, to a certain extent, yeah, there is a difference, because we all do it. We will judge whether you have crossed the classy line and went into the trashy. Whether or not I want to rape you or come grab your butt, I have already still judged you trashy. So if you're okay with that, then be okay with that, but know that there's consequences. So I think this is one of those conversations that we really have to get really, like you said before, open-minded about. But in response to, because that was my first time hearing the clip, I'm not necessarily offended by it, but I think being one of the women who is not quiet about holding women accountable. And it makes it seem like we're all out here and we are not in a struggle within the womanhood to hold each other accountable. Yep. Because it happens when we talk about, because I have a problem with women that say, don't address the woman, you're in a relationship with the man. That's where I feel we lose with women checking each other. Like, despite of the man, we didn't peg them dogs since 1901. So they doing what we've been pegged them to do. The problem is we have adapted them, join them attitude, and that has what clouded the whole thing now. So now we all out here scraping who real, who ain't, what you want, are you lying? It's no longer just a struggle for women anymore to find quality.
But you know what? You said something about pegging them dogs, and that goes back to what I was saying, because and me and O'Carroll used to have this conversation. We're accepting that behavior. So we're supporting it. So you can't peg a man as a dog when you dating him.
But that's what I'm saying. But we
gotta be accountable
but it's
for your
one
choices.
of those, and you do. But what I'm saying, what part of the problem is that caused a lot of the issues he brought up is the breakdown of the community. So both people, yes, women should be held accountable for a lot of things that he said, but I don't want it to go by that we're not already trying to do that.
Okay. What you said, Xavier, about women. Say that one more time for me. I don't want to misquote you on us choosing. You mentioned us for our own choices sometimes, and we're not talking people. All women.
Right. Okay. Yeah,
not all of us.
We gotta, we have to make that be just the standard that, because nothing is everything.
Nothing is everything.
Nothing is everything.
No, all.
So we're talking just a general conversation, but I feel oftentimes women are not accountable for the choices that they make in men, and they run around talking about these men are dogs or whatever, but you choosing that dog. Don't allow a man to treat you a certain way, then he ain't gonna treat you that way because you're gonna leave him alone. Opportunity to treat you that way. Emphatic about someone to treat you. We teach people how to treat us. Oftentimes people say, well, you date this kind of dude, that kind of dude, or date certain kind of men, period. This guy, whatever. Well, how do you find those men? Well, I don't find them kind I will date. That's you have to be accountable for what you choose. You have to be accountable for what you choose.
You have to be accountable, but you have to go back, and we have to stop judging the women as who they are today. And this is with men and women alike. This is with just learning how to grow, period. That woman who is having these issues, whether it be making, let's be clear, she doesn't know herself. And so so accountability goes back to the moms and the fathers, which are still men and women, which is still saying we all hold accountability. And I think because we've said before, I happen to think we try to make women more accountable than we do men. So I would like to just, even though we're going to stay focused on the women, but I think we will check, and it holds true in our groups. Look at the topics. We can switch it around. If the man is in the sympathetic role, men and women roll sympathetically with that man. If the woman is in that same role, we can switch it, the same scenario, and switch it, and the woman will get beat down by the women and the man. There'll be very few sympathizers for her. So I just want, once again, like I said, let's get to that kind of woman. I think it would be more productive, instead of him saying we can't hold y'all accountable, and say, how do we help these people see that they need to be held accountable?
What does accountability look like?
Accountability looks like you not passing the blame on somebody else. You treated me this way because you're a dog. Well, no, you treated me this way because I allowed myself to be treated that way. I put myself in a position. I'm desperate for this relationship, so I'm gonna tolerate all kind of crap. And accountable, you have to look at what is your motivating factor. Why are you in this relationship? Why are you making these choices?
He has 4 kids that he doesn't take care of, and now you just had number 5 with him.
Right.
You crazy.
Why do you think that you're about to have some different experience necessarily? Right. Why would you not maybe hold yourself accountable that I made this choice, and now he's no good, he don't take care of his kids?
Expected that. Absolutely.
On that note, 2 things stand out. Also means I had the first time, don't do it the second time. And when it comes to this bad boy, quote unquote bad boy theory, that's not being held accountable, because on several occasions, you said, but a lot of women will continue to date.
Which is what Xavier said. He's a dog. They don't stop being dogs.
It's not taking accountability. The other part of, and this is so fundamental, being accountable is saying, I'm sorry. It's enough. In these scenarios.
From women.
Keith said accountability is in sisterhood, which should be about holding a space for each of our walks and experiences, not projecting nor judgment. Accountability is as each of us doing the work on ourselves before we call others out. So are you saying, Keish, that he shouldn't call them out, or this man shouldn't call us out on it, or
Well,
It needs to come from
just jump in?
it needs to come from a man's perspective. And I think this video was very powerful because the one thing that stood out was the very end when he said it creates healthy dialogue. Listen, everybody has had their flaws, their issues, and so forth. But what happens in relationships sometimes is that it's so easy and convenient to place the issue or the downfall of the man. And somewhere in there, everybody plays a role. You know, even if it was you chose to be with this guy for, 6 years and, and he didn't marry you and all of a sudden, the relationship, it's easy to say, well, this man wasted your time. But the fact of the matter is you invested.
That's right.
You invested a significant amount of your
there.
time
Yep.
to be with this man. Talking about committed to yourself.
Exactly.
And
Absolutely.
What happened to Ayana Van Zant, the love of yourself and all of that. You got to do that before you expect somebody else to.
The problem, people want you to make them happy, and happiness comes from inside.
And that's what I said.
So,
back to grass.
Yeah.
Talk.
So the one thing that I would say women should be held accountable is the self-improvement, the loving yourself thing. I have no problem holding anybody accountable for that. But as far as this guy's video is concerned, I have to disagree with him.
Oh my God.
Because I think I held more responsible than anybody else.
Thank you.
This is where we always debate.
And me and her, we always disagree on this.
Yes.
We've had shows. But I really do. I think that when you talk about parenting, everybody always go to the woman first. Because the woman,
we're the ones that accept
hold on.
treatment.
May I finish?
Go ahead.
Okay. So parenting, because the women are present more often than not in the households, women get the blame. Every single living child.
Absolutely.
And so it's easy to say to a woman, well, you messed up raising this boy, but how can you expect somebody to raise a person they have no idea of how this person is supposed to be because they didn't live that? Of the fact that they're there, they get the blame. I think when it comes to relationships and choices, the reality is that there are a lot of women who have had some things happen to them in their past that has had and mental trauma decisions based off of stuff that they do. You can tell there is a significant difference between women who grew up with fathers molested and women who didn't have fathers and women who were molested. And that has an effect. And the thing is that the more and more that I speak to women who have experienced that, it is a significant difference between those women and women who have not had those things. And we have a lot of women who are walking around who has had these traumas out because they don't know better.
Thank you. That was
and
my
so
point.
it's easy to just be like, oh, well, you know what? You're supposed to come out of that. But I'm going to tell you, it's stuff from my childhood that I ain't came out of. A lot of people's childhood that they haven't come out of. But it's really easy to just look at women and not know their story and just say, well, you shouldn't be dressing like this or you shouldn't be doing this. When this woman has been sexualized since she was 5, 6, 7 years old, and that's pretty much the only thing she knows. So yes, it is really hard for me and just be like, you know what? That's your fault. When I know all of the stuff that I know
but the
about
first
the things
thing you
that
have
they go
to do
through.
is identify the problem.
But
you
I'm
have
not-
to
I'm
identify
still-
that you having a
Right.
problem.
But it's not that easy.
Then you can find out what
It's not,
the
and
basis
that
is for it.
that is what my point was when I said that I hold them accountable for the fact that they haven't made the self-assessment, they haven't improved themselves. So on a personal level, I can look at women and say, hey, listen.
You at step 2 though.
I can look at women and I can say, hey, you know this is not working out for you. You need to figure out how to make it work for you. You need to see what's wrong with you. I get that for me. The stuff includes men. say, hey, she's responsible for this guy or this little boy being feminine or this or that. The man who could have been there. I just can't do it.
I
It's
agree.
hard
But
for
she
me to
chose the
I
man
see
that
your
left.
point.
But you know what?
But
let's not
He
act
chose her
like we
too.
don't.
Okay,
He
there's a
chose her
difference.
too,
Okay.
but
He chose her too.
We are supposed to find out who you are before we allow you inside of our bodies and our minds and all of that kind of stuff. Before I have a kid with you, what you're talking about is step 2, because first you have to understand that there is a problem, and the problem is I'm making bad choices. So if you're never accountable to look and say, I am making these bad choices, nobody is doing this to me, I am making these bad choices,
And
then,
why am I making
then
these
you
bad
can,
choices?
that is the
So
only
you can
time you
assess
can
your
get to
life.
where you're
If
going, okay,
I could, if I recall,
yours is the second step.
Wait, hold on. If I recall, that was the first thing I said. The thing I said was that they have to do the self-improvement. They
But
have
he
to make
holds
the
them
realization.
accountable for it.
Exactly.
That's what-
It's not right.
Yes,
But what
that
I'm
is
saying
what the
is,
first. That was
before
the
you
first
can go
thing I
to the
said.
self-improvement,
That's
you have to realize that there is a
But-
problem before you start to make improvement.
But the thing
First,
is
there's the problem.
how do you? From the ghetto. All right, let's just change it. Let's take a child from the ghetto. His cousins are ignorant. His brothers are ignorant. Everything around him is ignorant, right? He doesn't know anything besides what he see from his mama, his daddy, his cousin. How all of a sudden is he supposed to just know that there is difference if all he sees is that?
Absolutely.
And that is what I'm saying about these women.
Absolutely.
Is that if you grow up in a household where men are either marginalized or they are not there or they are sexualizing you or whatever, how long does it take you to know that that's not right?
Okay, what age group are we talking?
We could be talking, if you
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't
There's
matter.
no age.
If you're learning this
the
from,
further
listen,
away from
if
childhood
hold
you
on,
get,
listen,
have life
if you're
experience.
right, if you're learning this,
And then you got
if
those
you're
experiences on
learning
top of
listen,
what you've
if
already
you're
had.
learning this, if you're learning this as a child, on through your teens,
Yes.
on through you when you're 19, 20, 21 or whatever, it is a hard thing to come out of that. Look, for instance, let's take Black people in general.
Yes.
We have been a certain way of looking at money. Recognize that the way that we looking at money isn't really doing much for us because there's a whole nother culture who was making a lot of money. But because this is the way that we were taught from the time that we were kids, it's hard to come out of these habits.
But is it possible?
I'm not saying,
possible.
hold on. I'm not saying that it's impossible. Nobody has said that. But if you're gonna sit up here and you're gonna look at it from a general sense,
Yes.
like you look at Black people from a general sense, you will know it is not that. It is difficult to come out of stuff when you have been or to see something a certain way.
Listen,
and
the
so when
dialogue
we can
needs to be changed on that, though, Kira, because
It
you're
does.
saying that
You
it's
can-
difficult,
listen.
it's difficult, it's difficult.
Right.
It's difficult, but
And
it's
if that's what you
possible.
focus
but
on.
nobody.
Okay,
wait.
Right.
Nobody is listen. It's impossible. I never said that. You can't
But you
sit
didn't say
here.
it was.
I didn't listen.
And you're
I didn't
giving
say.
excuses.
I didn't give nobody an excuse. I'm telling you what the reality is.
It's like
Because
you grew
I'll
up
tell you
in
this.
this household,
Here's
so
the-
you're gonna make these.
No,
No
that's
choices.
not what he's
No,
saying.
what you
He's
need
saying
to
you're
do-
apt
we
to
need
it.
to do-
And which is what
we
I
need
was
to
saying.
do is put out there that there is a different way of life, more so than supporting the same thing we've been doing. Because we continually support the
Yeah.
same crap
And
that we
that's
keep
true.
doing over and over
Yeah.
again.
Nobody-
So when do we
And this
stop
becomes
and say,
a crutch. It's become a-
listen,
it's become a
you
crutch
need
for
to
some.
become accountable for your actions. This is not right. Or you doing this or whatever it is, you're putting the relationship in front of getting to know the person. Whatever the thing is, we got to call that thing a thing so they know it's wrong. We can't say you grew up in this household. As a coach,
No.
I know that everything that happens when we're a kid, it affects us.
No.
However, once you're downhill, that's when you need to stop and say something ain't right.
No one
But
said.
no one knows
they're.
they're going down that slope when they're going sometimes.
You do know,
you know.
they complain
But
about it all the time.
but
You
it's
spend
still
your day crying
complaint.
and eating ice
No
cream. You
one
know there's
said
a
that.
problem.
But the thing
No
of
one-
it is it's
We
still
heard you. You didn't say that. What
right.
you said was everybody first needs to be accountable.
Accountable for their
before they
self.
go
on.
Absolutely.
But one
And I
second.
am in like I'm that's he so greatly expanded on what my point was when I said, and Tucson even kind of touched on it and said causes more division than what we need to be doing is coming forward, because we're separating men accountability versus women accountability instead of a togetherness accountability as Black people, and understanding that we all suffered severely from the way we were treated. Men, why they're not at home. Women, the role we had to play because the men left home. And so to say that the accountability to should start at someone who has been through all this, and we haven't even healed as a community, but you want me to be this grandmother and this grand woman and this grand everything. It's we have to come together to heal each other. Then we can hold each other accountable.
But who's saying you have to be grand anything? You just have to be fulfilled and happy in your life.
Well, that's grand.
Me saying
that's grand.
But what's grand to you may not be grand to me.
Whatever
so what I'm
your
saying is that we don't
is
have
grand.
We don't have to look at everybody else's expectations of what your life should be. As long as you're happy with your life, and that's where that accountability starts for me. You know, when I'm talking,
but some people are happy doing the drama
happy.
They're doing. You know, and we're saying hold them accountable. They don't want to know accountable for what. They're okay with doing what they're doing.
That is because we say you grew up in this environment, so this is what you're probably going to do. And so we're putting that acceptance there because we know if you grew up with a crazy mama and a crazy dad and everybody was crazy, then you're going to be crazy.
I get what you're saying because I kind of
to get back on this 1 second, you all.
All right, so Lakeisha said, I also think this guy lumped a bunch of issues together that are not connected nor have any validity to the others. For example, how a woman dresses or socializes is completely different than choices of fathers for their children or relationships.
As I'm listening to you all, I agree with you, Okara, that there are definite reasons why the way the men behave the way we all. I think someone said we're a culmination of our life experiences from and if we haven't healed from them, or if that's all we've seen, that's all has been modeled from our parents and grandparents, where do we learn, or where do we find out? And I appreciate your compassion for women, because a lot of times it feels sometimes that the compassion for women in these circumstances sometimes feels lost, or it's almost like going to blame them for misfortune or what has happened to them. But then that we are focusing on what this guy talked about right now. Be accountable. If we are going to keep complaining that this has happened to us, that we maybe do some soul searching and saying why, and we do hold our sisters accountable, that and we can do that from a loving place. We don't have to be accusatory or judgmental about, or check out Journey to Wholeness Center, 9501 New England in Oak Lawn, and they have tons of people who can help you with this. 708-636
James
one of our sponsors also. And they have people who deal with all different modalities who can help you do some emotional clearing. They have a lady who is excellent, Kim Plesher, works with emotional clearing. Check them out, because sometimes you need help because you don't know where to start. You don't know that sometimes you don't even realize what something happened to you affected you.
Absolutely.
You don't even have a clue.
None whatsoever.
So we really don't just take a moment to say, is there a reason why me again and again and again?
Well, part of the thing that I agree with Xavier is that, you know, I say this all the time, teaching the wrong lesson. We keep telling people the way to a successful relationship is the struggle. It is the fight. It's the tussle. It's the cheating and the get back together. No, so now there's nothing wrong with me by keep picking him, because that's what these relationships is about. I got to go through it with Tyrone. I got to. Because that's what they told me. Because if I don't, I'm going to be told I'm not a ride or die chick. They going to tell me I left when the chips got hard. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's what we passing on. So that's why we have people who are continuously going back and think they can change baby daddy, because that's what we told them. When we saw our uncle, we knew our uncle wasn't no good. Our auntie was like, but he taking care of me. So that goes back to what we're passing on as healthy relationships. And so they're okay with the chase and the fight and the child support court, because in the end, baby, they won. 10 years later, 20 years, they can say they did all that mess. And that's where I feel like we lose. We're teaching the wrong way of relationship. And when you tell somebody how a healthy relationship goes, it's quote unquote fairy tale. It ain't gonna happen.
Right.
You that's not real.
Right.
This and that, and we wave that off.
Yep.
But it's in all the books, it's in all the movies, it's in all the dreams,
But
it's in all of that. But we
But
keep
what I'd
telling
like
it
to
doesn't
say is
exist.
the part of accountability is not finding the right relationship or being happy for happy relationships.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, you have to be
You
you.
will
Yes.
find the healthy relationship and this if you're
It'll come to you.
accountable
It'll
to
come
just
to
being
you.
happy on your not
But
on your
see-
own. I don't want to say that because some guy will grab onto that and say I'm saying be by yourself. I'm saying that you will attract healthy things if you are healthy and
Being
from a
fulfilled.
healthy place.
And see, that's
and
the
that's-
problem. Unfortunately,
We don't
people
teach
are
that.
out here dating process, and they've dated this person, that person, and that's men and women. And there's not enough people to have a solid a reference point of what a good relationship looks like.
Right.
So therefore, we just kind of go through the motions, and if it happens enough to you, you just kind of accept it as the norm. People out there that have a reference point to what a good woman is, or what is acceptable and what's not. So,
But I would say is don't teach enough is self-improvement. Actually, we don't. It's not something that people. People look at it as like some kind of gimmick or some kind of, or
And
whatever.
it's taboo in our
Yeah, or
community
it's just-
going into
it's-
the
It is.
account.
but people
Taboo in the
don't-
Black community.
Yeah.
Times in our community, it's self-improvement as far as like inner.
I don't want to cut you off, but I'm
Go
going
ahead.
to real quick. Facebook, I only see like the first 5 comments and then they're gone, and I wanted to read it and it's gone. So that's why I'm doing that. So please hold your thought. I want to say this, what Keisha said, because it's going to go if I keep talking. Metaphysically, we attract experiences to help us heal. It's gone.
I can finish it.
Well,
She
I-
said,
I-
metaphysically, we attract experiences to help us heal and expand spiritually. So much of our behaviors align with our values and beliefs.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so
good
we
job,
don't.
Keisha.
We will look to improve as far as like money is concerned or something like that, but we don't look to improve as far as just like your inner peace and your happiness and your confidence within yourself. Like we always do this, well, you just fake it until you make it, or you could do this, or or whatever, but we don't search for that. We don't search for the confidence to be like, what, this is the type of thing that I want and I'm going to stick to this. And so because we don't have that, we fall for a lot of silly stuff.
That's because society has put a lot of things in our minds that we feel we need to conform to. You have the whole thing with women just in general with relationships. They feel like they need to be in one by a certain time. They need to be married by a certain time. You got to have kids by a certain time. And so all of that kind of stuff is not fulfilling to the individual necessarily. It may not be what they actually even want. The expectation of society for us, so everybody else can look at you and say that you made it, and then if you haven't attained those goals in some kind of way, achieve what society or your family or friends expected you to achieve. So yeah, we definitely need that whole self-help to figure out who we are as individuals, as a person.
But Wanda,
who are you?
but Wanda, back on like as far as things that I feel like, because Akira said he has to exclude some of these topics because men are involved. I will say it's gone. Then there still is some level of accountability because you're still left with your reality. And within your reality, because I posted this and I asked and I flip it both ways, fathers, but we're going to stick with the mother-son dynamic. We do, no one likes to talk about mothers because we get touchy, right? Because mom is mom, even though mom did some wrong stuff. But when we start talking about our moms or our motherhood, was done well. So the problem that we have is the mothers don't want to date. And that's a big gap of accountability that I will say happens in our community. Yes, the father should have been there. Yes, he should be held accountable for that and blah, 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 blah. And maybe I'm not even going to say that you were wrong for choosing the guy that you chose. Maybe you didn't choose the guy who had 3 children already. Maybe this guy did present himself as something else and you had a baby, because I'm going to go with, we have a lot of that too. Everybody out here just didn't get food by the food. Okay. They came wearing a different disguise. Okay. So with that being said, once you're in that reality, there is some accountability that we are taking
And I
away
agree with
from
that.
women.
So
Question. Can I ask a question? real
one
quick?
second, I want to. Hopefully, your question will answer this. Said, how can self-improvement be taught if we can't hold women accountable for anything, though?
Which was the main point of the video.
But no one's saying no.
And
I don't think.
I think
I don't think it's. I know I'm not saying women can't be held accountable for
I just
anything.
disagree that we're not.
What I
holding them.
said, hard for me
I
to just
disagree. We're
blame
not
women for certain things, especially when a man could be included.
And what I like to say is what Keisha is saying, and I think what we like to get from this, or I hope we get from this, is everyone start to hold, not blame, why don't you hold yourself accountable? And it is say, I'm going to hold myself accountable. I'm going to worry about myself, is what Lakeisha said. Worry about yourself. Too many of us are busy holding others accountable. Oh, it's gone.
Right.
Too busy holding
Pointing
others
fingers.
accountable. But if we all just take a moment and not, I don't understand why it's so, you all need to hold yourself accountable. You need to hold yourself. Stop and hold yourself accountable. Yourself. And we do a lot of this attacking of each other for not doing your part. You're not doing your part. You're not doing your part.
And that's why I
When do we
said
do
that
our-
we need women to have women forums with women.
True.
Because and then we need men
To have-
talking to the men. Now, once the men get the men in check and the women get the women in check,
Then we
then
all
we
good.
come together and we get in our places and we do what we were supposed to do.
And what are we
Or two.
accountable to? You're accountable to your own health,
Your own fulfillment.
your own fulfillment. Xavier, exactly. That's not. We're accountable to you, so you have a better relationship with me, or you have be accountable for your own
fulfillment and
And we're
happiness, right.
asking everyone, men and women, but we focus on the women today because of how. But sometimes you think the delivery hurts the message.
The delivery definitely hurts the message because he came off as if, like I said, no one is trying to hold women accountable, or there aren't any stand-up women who will say that they sorry and they messed up. And for that, I'm offended because I have had conversations with my boys and told them where I made mistakes as their mother so they would recognize we could talk about it, we can heal right now, and you can move forward and be healthier with whatever relationship you're going to. So there are women out here holding
But
themselves
there's obviously a
accountable.
lot that aren't.
But they're
Yeah.
not.
I'm talking about
So,
the majority.
and they're not. But that's the thing though. But we keep. When I say my piece, what happens? You this, and that's the same thing about when I talk about the healthy relationships. It always gets, but that's. Why not change the dialogue and let that be more of, and let's wave our hand at the people who don't. Why we got so many people doing it? Because it's the norm to take him to child support court because he got a new girl. We not out here yanking that little girl and saying, girl, I didn't take mine. We not sharing our stories of I didn't take mine. So I didn't take mine. And Wanda, you share your story and talk about how you were able to talk about it, but your story is rare. Everybody don't want to hear.
That's why I want to talk about the majority. Because to heal the majority,
you need to talk about the rare though, because they need to hear that it's happening and it's functioning and it works. Then they can turn to those people and say, how did you make it work? But if we keep putting turmoil in front of turmoil, where are you getting the good at? Infiltrate this system with the positive. The reason why we fought so hard for the Cosby Show, because they infiltrated with that positive black image. We didn't have but one show, but you had 50 of them with the dope dealer and stuff, and you can't dealer out their mind if you don't see the Cosbys.
Go ahead.
It's hard for me to like look at women and at women at this point. Because in my personal life, I don't really concern myself with what women do. I only concern myself as whether or not they fit in with what I want to be. And so when I look at the dynamics of a man, I normally accountable because I hold myself more accountable. So those are the people who. So yes, maybe I could be a little biased in this, but I think that it's got to be. I think that we need to look at the opposite sex find out what's wrong with them, and while you're doing that, overlook what's wrong with you. If we're gonna accomplish anything, it's got to be a collective, but we have to start singular with
It's gonna have to,
ourselves.
yeah, start
Yes.
sinking.
And then,
Because that's
and
what we
then
can
we
control
work.
first
Because
off. More
the thing
right.
is
You can't
that
control anybody
we sit across from each other, and we don't get anywhere, because the first thing happens is that as soon as someone takes a shot at you, you either ducking and you swinging. It goes nowhere. So it's hard for me to just sit here and just take shots. I think that, if we gonna be productive, one, find out why, and then one, start trying to heal it. But this just sitting here and women this, women that.
Well, that was the question. I mean, you have to ask the question as it was.
Yeah, no, I
posed,
understand.
you know.
I understand
So
that.
yeah, definitely the whole.
So what would your suggestion be, and not to bash women or anything or make
Right.
women feel, but what would be your suggestion to make the woman who doesn't realize she has an issue, as maybe because or how what would be a suggestion to make her that she should maybe start reflecting?
Because I think that I always say it's like, all right, if you have a problem with everybody, you the common denominator. So if you have a problem with everybody,
Okay.
with multiple
Okay.
people, you're the common denominator. And so at some point you need to look at what you're doing. And so same type of relationship with 5 dudes, you're the common denominator.
Thing on that note, if you're having the same issue with the 5 or 10 or whatever guys, and it goes for men too, but since we're talking about women now,
Right.
If you don't know what to do, because a couple of people have said it was not as easy and as difficult,
Seek help.
you can do that. Stop doing what you've been doing.
Right.
Try something
Right.
Just
different.
stop
Right.
stop doing
Have a
what
moment
you've
of
been
silence.
doing. Have a moment, stop,
Yep.
and stop doing what
Yeah.
you've been doing.
Mhm.
And that right there will give you at least a place of peace where you can possibly make a sound decision. That people are getting out of a relationship and going back into another relationship in a place that's familiar with them.
But I think also what's happening too is women continue to do the same thing because they don't believe from these men that what they're doing and thinking is okay in their head is going to be interpreted this way by any man. It's not me. It's not him. And they need to know it's a universal thing that we have that blockage of as a woman and what it looks like and what it sounds like and what it means when you do that to a man. And so I think James on the last show, that's what he made a point similar to that do a certain act. For men responding to that act, it might be the act and not the man. And that's, I think, that people blocking because they keep going through life saying, that's what I said, and they keep going through life thinking, well, I just need to find somebody that fits. It's like, no, honey, that what you're doing is going to be deemed wrong by any man. Same way you try to get a man to say, when you women tell them men all the time, I'm nagging you about this, but any woman is going to nag you about this particular thing. And that's just what it is. And we get a series of those things. And we get comfortable in ourselves, and we keep. You're gonna find the one that
Well, you know what?
That likes it.
And I would like to add on to that to say the thing about it is it's really not about. When I go into a relationship, I don't approach the relationship about what's gonna make him happy, because I'm not changing to make him happy, and nobody should be changing for that. The thing is, you have to get to a place where you love yourself and you're comfortable and you understand what you need.
Absolutely.
And then you meet someone. You're not looking for a relationship. You meet a person that fits and feels all of that stuff. Then you don't have to nag them about, you might be like, can you take the garbage out?
Minor stuff,
yes. Little crap like that.
Yes.
But the core stuff,
yes.
If you just stop looking for a relationship and just meet a person and let it click, then you don't have to worry about what you're doing. That one little thing that's nagging all of those different men, because every man is different. So what I do with one dude, he might love it, and then he might hate it.
Absolutely.
You can't. There is no universal thing. It's about the two people that's involved in that. But the primary thing is you have to know yourself. So then you're not changing to try and accommodate nobody else, or trying to change somebody else to accommodate what you think you might want.
I had this discussion with this young lady. She was getting her PhD in psychology, and she with people. And so we were having this discussion, and one of the things that she said to me is she said that there are, you know, therapists or psychologists or whatever who go through depression. And when they go through depression, they'll, somebody will like, you should go talk to somebody, this and this and that. And they'll say, well, it doesn't work. I don't think it's going to work for me. And her point was that it is the hardest thing to be able to evaluate when you are the person going through it. And I think that is what happens with a lot of people, is that when you are going through it, and then a lot of times we will ignore outside what somebody might be telling. Because I mean, everybody has probably run across a situation where somebody was like, well, but people don't want to accept that because everybody's, a lot of times people's initial reaction is to be defensive. And then it goes back to being easy to point at what that other person did wrong while ignoring yourself.
As she said on IntellectualRadio.com, and we have some hot topics today. We are talking about the post that was made by Mitchell Speaks. I'm not even going to try to butcher that middle name there. We've been talking about his post. I put it here on the Facebook Live for the people who are watching from Facebook Live. I put a copy of it for you to look at. And we've been talking about Black women take more responsibility. And he listed a bunch of things that the way he phrased it, I think, caught people's attention. And I think, Elemuel, I'll bring you up because you're one of the reasons I chose the topic, because you said the way he said that. Well, let me try to find that really quickly. It caught your eye the way he described it. Let me see if I can pull it up. Your response to this
for like the last 24 hours, and I've commented on it.
So I'm going to try to find it, but it was more that it was just the sheer at the beginning is that he found it so interesting, and it was said in a way that he could understand, which made me say, okay, let me look at it from a woman's perspective and really try to hear what he's saying and take it in without to defend, just really listen to what the guy is saying. And is when I said, okay, this should be a topic, because if men are seeing that he's saying it in a different way, let's talk about that, because that may be a way to create a different dialogue between us but it's bringing up things it's creating the same thing where we blame, where we go back and forth over it, where it becomes this blame thing. And I'm not sure how we get around that. What would you guys' suggestion of
Well, first we need to recognize that in two different things.
Right.
They're
opposites, actually.
They're opposites. And it takes a certain level of maturity. And nobody said that, but it takes a certain level of maturity to sincerely, genuinely say, I think I may have played a role in that. The way I took the video was him saying that there has not been enough, despite you and people that you deal with saying, maybe I did do something wrong. I think he was saying that it hasn't been enough of that. I know as a man, I think we get bombarded with it all the time. This is what you should be doing, woulda, coulda, shoulda, if you was a real man, this and that. Fit in that category, I don't believe, but
I rarely hear men talking to women in that tone that you hear women talking to men, telling them what they should be doing. Real men do this, you should do this, you should. I've never really hear a lot of guys talking to women in that manner. No, you don't hear as much in that tone. Happen, I'm sure it happens. It happens. Nothing is for, and I will say with my own healing, I was married a long time and trying to heal, and you can think of all the things he did wrong. But really taking the time to figure out done differently. But what if I want something different out of the next relationship? What did I do differently? How did I make him feel? You walk away knowing about your feelings and how you felt in the situation, but what were your actions in that situation? And to really take some time in the dig to say, look at the response you got, and then say, this is how he responded to me doing this, and really look at myself. And that took some time. I'm not going to make it sound, I think also people make healing sound so overwhelming that you don't want to do it. I'm not going to talk about it took all this, I think that's why people shy away from, because it sounds like such an undertaking. Just a few things of talking it out and looking at it from a whole different perspective. Not focusing on
a different perspective.
a different perspective, not focusing on what he did, what he didn't do, how he made me feel. He didn't do enough of this, but me.
Just a different perspective, that unbiased perspective, and that's what because we'll go ask our girlfriend or our brother, but we won't go to that person who has no attachment whatsoever,
and they don't
that can tell you, and you have to get that unbiased, and and like you said, it doesn't take 3 months of it, but you do have to go and be ready to be honest and say, whatever, and be ready to listen.
Was that person happy? I mean, would you think from someone else, did my actions make the other person happy? So what could I change? Especially then when you get into a new relationship and you see that the next guy is responding the same way to you saying the same things, and you're getting the same response. So then it was time to say, now out of that marriage and in a new relationship, and someone else is responding that way, and you go, okay, so because I'm getting the same responses I have gotten in the past. So now it's time to say, what am I saying? What am I doing? And to hold ourselves accountable to that, not to make that, not for the other person's sake, but for our own happiness, because that's how you heal. If you want to determine how do I heal from situations, sometimes it really just takes looking at yourself first.
The one thing I always do in a relationship that's failed, and at this point it has been everyone.
Next topic.
Every last one, but no. I just blame myself, because the one.
Xavier's face.
Yeah, I just blame myself when it don't work.
But do you try to figure out why?
Every time.
Every time I blame myself.
Not good, though. Let me tell you
know.
why.
Hold on. Let me explain why. I'll tell you why I take responsibility for it.
That's a better word, because that's what they're explaining. What you're saying is the same thing.
Because I'll tell you why I take responsibility for it. At the end of the day, the only person at that point I have to forgive is myself. So if I can look through the relationship and look at things that I have done wrong, because I don't care, in relationship there's always at least two villains. So I could look at the things that I've done wrong, and the thing that I might even find may be the choice, maybe the fact that I overlooked something and I still made the choice to be with that person. If I have to go to that in order to find something that I could have done differently, then I just take the responsibility for my choice and I move on. I'm not mad. I forgive myself. I don't have to be concerned with the other person.
I get you on that. All I'm saying is that if you just take on all the blame, because in growth, we grow. I mean, you can grow yourself from learning but you also have to learn in order to choose a better person. What was it about that person?
You have to learn what you did.
You need to know what you like. Like, I learned that I really need somebody that can be my friend, not pretending like they my friend. Be my friend. I learned that loyalty is not, because I'm not big on the monogamy thing. So it's not about the whole, but be honest with me about what it is that you want and are capable of. I learned some things that I need. So I'm not just looking at, why did this relationship fail and what was my role? I'm like, what was it that was lacking in it for me that may have motivated me to do some other stuff that I did?
I do all that too.
So that helps you pick a better person.
Right. I do all that too. I'm just simplifying.
Okay, you do the work. You don't just say my fault. Next.
No, I just simplified it for the sake of radio.
Toussaint says Okira is right to blame himself, because relationship is a mirror, and life continues to teach you the same lesson until you learn it.
Right. We agree. It takes a little bit of work.
Right, I do the work. I'm just saying I just simplified it for the sake of radio, but I do all of that too. I have to, a lot of the times I look at whatever or what was it about what happened or what this person was that to still make the choice. Like, what was I going through? How was I feeling about myself? How, all of that. I do all of that.
How you feeling about
Yeah, how you
yourself.
feeling about
And
yourself?
sometimes
Right.
I have to.
Defining moments.
Yes,
they are.
Those are defining moments. And because unless you go through something, you really, like, a lot of times people are like this and I like this. But then when you get that, you realize I don't necessarily need that. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you're talking something short term in life, then yeah, that might be a good thing for you. But if you're talking about long term, which most people are looking for when we're talking about relationships, the things that we say that we desire, you realize
You didn't want them.
I didn't necessarily need them. It brings no substance, no value
Right.
into my life. And when you're talking about longevity, that's fine, or do with a lot of money,
That's
not
what I
make,
was
well,
just thinking.
maybe not money. That's a bad
He gotta
example,
be
but
fine,
but yeah,
you know.
but a girl got to look like this. I mean, those things are good to have, but
If
when
it
you're
come
talking
with
about
the package.
longevity, but you have to have it first. You have to go through it, and I think that's the most unfortunate part when people go through it. And I think I hinted on this earlier, is that when you go through relationships, once you get to a place where you stop blaming the other person, and Akira, I agree with you on this. Once you start looking at yourself, that's where the moment of healing comes in.
Yep.
Because healing, but you're building strength. You're building strength as far as, you know what, I thought I liked that, but I don't necessarily like that.
Right.
And here's how this particular thing or being with this type of person uplifts me, as an individual. So, if you're in a failed relationship, don't look at it as a failed relationship.
I
Look at
agree.
it
The last
Totally.
thing
Yes.
is
But
that
there's a
learn
lesson.
something about
Yes.
It's all
yourself.
about a lesson. It's all about a lesson.
Which was one of our topics, should we learn from past relationships? And I think we're all in agreement that you should learn. I think one will say that helped me was sometimes to figure out, where did I learn to want this? Sometimes I figured I had to really go back and say, oh, my dad used to do, like, to really go, how did I learn? Because somehow when I realized that it's very hard to stop doing that same behavior over and over again, to really go back to, where did I learn how to do that? Where did I learn how to love that way?
It's funny that you say that, because I got a real quick, short, funny story. To me, it's funny anyway. Y'all might not laugh. But anyway, when you say, where did I learn to want this? What immediately put to my head is, when I was a kid, I had this cousin. She said, yeah, you got to marry light skin with curly hair so you can have cute kids. And I remember, like, the first part of my life, I was like, my husband was light skinned with I remember being with all these, and I'm
sure.
But I'm looking at all the chocolate brothers walk past. And so yeah. Learned how to want that, because sometimes you are conditioned. People tell
You are very
stuff over and
conditioned
over
to think
that this is what you need, this is what you want. Even with our friends, our peer pressure. You should want. You want to do that's gonna be, when you get with it, it's like,
The best moment is when you are just good with yourself.
That's
When
where
you-
I finally got to.
When you just
Amen.
I'm good.
you good with whatever it is, your
Whatever.
personality is, whatever it is, your wants is, whatever it is, you really truly aspire to be. When you just good with that, and you're not really worried about what somebody else say or what somebody else think.
Amen,
you just
brother.
you just
That's
good
peace,
with
baby.
that.
Preach,
Because
hallelujah.
That's
I
peace.
I remember, like,
how did you get to that place?
well, how I got to it was the stuff that I was doing because I felt like I should. I wasn't happy. Like, stuff wasn't working right.
Right.
I wasn't feeling right. I wasn't
That's
good.
the first step.
Yeah,
That's what I want to
just
talk
not-
about.
like,
That's what I want to
I
talk
just
about, because
wasn't
people
feeling
don't
right.
know how to get there.
It don't
Yeah,
feel right
it just
no
don't.
more.
It just don't feel right.
Right.
I'm telling
That's
you. And
what
then
it is to make that
at
change.
some point,
Yeah.
you have to really listen to that,
Yeah.
and you just got to sit and think about it, because I'm gonna tell you, it was when I was younger, I always felt like you thought was attractive or whatever, or who you thought may even like you, you're probably supposed to be trying to have sex with. In my mind, no, I'm serious, but but it's true. Not all the time I would relate to a person like that. Sometimes I would relate to her as a friend.
Right.
And so it got to a point where I was just like, man, I ain't on that. And so now I'm friends with women who I ain't trying to have sex with. As a younger person, that's what you were supposed to be doing, because that's what everybody else was supposed to be doing.
Tucson
And so-
said, that being good with yourself is an exercise in accountability. I think that's a good start. And like you said, that's kind of started is being accountable to yourself, your own happiness, and to maybe get into how do you start that? Because if we're asking, should Black women take more responsibility? How do we get to the point of taking responsibility? How do you feel that? And you mentioned
if
you're not feeling good, or
if you're not feeling good, if it's not working, it needs to be fixed.
Right.
But it needs to be fixed by once you get to that point, because I think that's where we stop. We're still not giving them the tools. What you need to do is find somebody who is not doing what you're doing. Do not go to grandma and your mom, where y'all got 5 generations of all the kids and the daddies are missing and everybody's going to court. Don't go to those people. It does not mean you do not still love and honor and respect your mother and your grandmother and all that. That's not what I'm saying. But find you someone that has a great their child's father and ask them how did they do it. This is what we don't do in our community. We do not mentor, and that's the missing piece.
Good.
Find someone who's doing something different than you and learn that.
That's right. And that's what going back
and
to
that's if you're not, because we won't go to the professionals, so at least find someone, because I would say go to the professionals if you can do that. But we know that our community is going to take another form, another session, another he said, she said show to get them to actually go see the professionals. So find someone else. This is when you see all the memes that you like and talking about your circle changes and it gets smaller and it gets stronger. This is what that means. Find you someone outside your girlfriends that you're around all the day that's talking about, yeah, girl, take him for his money. Find you somebody that's saying, I'm not taking him to child support court because he comes and get him and he spends time, and that is more valuable to me. That's who you find, and you ask her and you adopt that. You relearn. You have to be ready to relearn.
It's just
and
like
that's
in
the
business.
step. Absolutely.
When
If you're
business, you don't
find
go to
someone
the
who's
person
did
who
it.
necessarily didn't
Absolutely.
Get up and keep going.
Exactly.
You talk to the person that succeeded, that got up and kept going. Because there's going to be setbacks.
Read books.
Yes.
Read books.
Yes.
But before you do that, and I think you may have said it, and if you said it, my apologies. But the very fundamental part of it is identifying that this ain't right.
Yeah, but that's what Okira said.
This ain't right. And then finding reference points.
Read books. But serious, we don't read enough.
We don't
read enough, whether it be relations, whether it be just self-improvement in general, whether it be money, we don't read enough. Just read. If you can't find anybody or whatever, start reading books.
That is very good tips. And definitely the mentoring definitely has been something that I value in my life that I didn't do. I didn't even do when I was married. I think if I had been around more married couples instead of more single couples and healthy relationship married, then maybe it would have went differently. Because if someone said that's okay, do this to feel better, or just giving me different tips to see things differently, because when you're on your own isolated world, you're always right.
Right. You got justifications up the wazoo for what you did
that. And if he wouldn't have done that, it's hard to come out of our own psyche and how we think without some help to hear a different side of it. So I think that helps. And again, like I said, Journey to Wholeness Center is perfect for that, because they have over 20 different practitioners, all different modalities. So something may not work for one person and you need someone else, and they have someone else. And also James Borishade, who is a life coach here for He Said, She Said, and you can reach out to James on Facebook. And Journey to Wholeness is 9501 New England in Oak Lawn, journeytowholeness.org. Them out, because I spent a lot of little time there, and it helped a lot. And I'm proud to say I spent some time there. It doesn't take sometimes it feels like an undertaking to go. You don't even have to talk to them. They'll talk to you on the phone. So you can call and talk to someone. You don't have to have this long healing process. Or people are sometimes afraid to go into their past. It could be one day session. It could be a one-day discussion that makes you say, I never thought of it that way. Are changing your whole thought process because they just said, and you go, wow. And it makes you start going back in time and saying, that's when and so please do that. And we really want to say that to men and women, but we'll focus on the women right now, because how do you become accountable? How do you begin to become accountable is to stop thinking that anything that happens to you is because of someone else. If it, like you said, you take blame for everything. I don't want to say blame or say, I don't like the word responsibility. That what happens to you is because of you, and there's nothing wrong with you. It's not saying it's wrong or fault, but if you want something different, try it. Just try that. Just try right there. My baby daddy does this, and he gets on my nerves, and then say, okay, well, what? And go back to you and start there. And I think that'll help. So you've been listening to He Said, She Said on IntellectualRadio.com, and we have been talking about, should Black women take more responsibility? I think we've hopefully made some head. What did you say, Keish? Spending time meditating is also a way to every day know where you are. Yes, get to know yourself, but get to know what makes you happy. Sometimes we're not even clear. Sometimes we're not even clear what makes me happy. I don't know. You think you know. Like you said, that was based on what your cousin said about light skin. You think that makes me happy, and that's what I want.
Make me happy.
But even as we grow, like even now, even if we all sitting here saying that we're healthy and we've been through things, if you haven't been everywhere and tasted everything and did all kinds of stuff, you still don't know.
You don't
because
know everything.
You don't still don't know everything.
And that's okay.
And it is okay. And that's what I say. It's okay not to know, but you have to look at the understanding that you have to grow. And people don't grow because they look at the relationship as somebody did them wrong instead of saying I learned something from that. You know, even me, I was in an abusive relationship, marriage for a long time. Yeah, that was a bad, but I learned some stuff. I learned a lot of stuff up in there. I ain't learned it the best way. It should have been taught, but I learned, you know what I mean? So I don't even look at that. And then even after my last relationship ended, I went to counseling for a couple more because I was like, help me identify. So make sure I'm not getting ready to do that. And it helped me identify that from the beginning of that relationship, I was renaming the behavior that I didn't want as something else. You know, and so I said I was going to deal with this because I didn't name it that I didn't want to tolerate. So so I feel like you have to have that that willingness to grow and learn, and
why you were doing that. Because the reason why you were doing that is what, and that's where we don't do the work there. And even with what Okara was saying, you know, sometimes I think, and I'm not pointing you out or anything, I'm just saying sometimes we do make excuses for the stuff. You know, we make it okay to be in this spot versus saying, you know, get some help, talk to somebody, like you were saying with the mentor. I had a male mentor when I was a little bit young, you know, and he actually told me exactly what you just said. It was funny when you said that, you know, he said, because I was 34, I think, and I'm like, I know what I want, blah, blah, blah. My husband had, you know, been killed at that point, so I was getting back out in the dating world. He's like, you don't know what you want, boy. He said, you don't know what you want, boy. He said, you ain't lived long enough to know what you want. But, you know, we have to, as we go through this life and we do learn and experience stuff, we got to be open to the growth, because what I've learned, because I've grown over the years, you know, I'm 52 now, so I've had a whole bunch of experiences in life at this point. But the thing about it is we are so stuck on just this society, the way the society stuff is set up. We're conditioned to just be one way. We're not open-minded to learning a lot of stuff. You guys got to be this one way or it's not right. That blocks a lot of our lessons, and as Christians would say, your blessing, because you're not open to receive any of that stuff. You know, you really got to be open to learning.
Mentioned to be accountable, what may help is learning your patterns and thoughts, really paying attention to what you're thinking and that pattern of thought. Responses you get from that pattern of thought makes a difference. And you mentioned something that made me think, Xavier, not knowing who you are. Sometimes I realize that what I was looking for was based on 26-year-old me. What I wanted at 26 is not what I wanted totally right now. And it's totally different. And that's where I started to almost be more forgiving of my choices at that time, because it was based on the experiences I had at that time. So it made me start seeing my old relationships not as failures, but they were what I wanted at that time and what I knew to want. But now, if I had known better, I'd done better. But now that I know better, I take more accountability of every action and choice that I make as we're doing it. Keith said, and you don't have to dig up the why. Just identify that it is wrong and it doesn't work for you. Then the universe will move you forward. And that, let's all please just start there. Let's start there on being accountable is sometimes digging up the why we do this from way back in the
well, you know what? As a life coach,
Yeah,
you got to know your why.
You gotta know
That
why.
part I totally disagree with.
Yeah, I
Okay.
disagree with
I
that.
agree with that. You got to know your why.
You gotta know the
because that is your
why. That's what's
motivating
the
factor.
setup to put you
You know,
back in
if
this
you
game.
were abandoned as a child and you have abandonment
Yeah.
issues, you're gonna go through life and acceptance and wanting to fit
Until you
in.
understand
You
where
need
it
to know
came
your
from.
why.
Absolutely.
You really, because you can't
Absolutely.
heal with
I
that.
agree with
Yeah.
I mean,
that.
and I'm in the metaphysics as well, so I understand everything that Keisha is saying. Lakeisha is saying. You know, I'm you know, the universal law. I'm into law of attraction and all that kind of stuff. I studied for a long time, so I understand what she's saying. But from a coaching perspective, when you start trying to heal and really move past, you gotta know your why.
And when you know your why,
gotta know
it
your
heals
why.
it because now you know where it started from. It's like,
And you can identify
Right.
it.
And
you
not-
identify it and you can let it go.
And not only that, but the why to me is almost like, because sometimes when you start digging up these things, you know, you find out that, you know, it's not only affected you in relationships, platonic, you know, romantic relationships, but platonic relationships and maybe professional,
Yes,
you know,
exactly.
professional aspects of life. You know, a lot of people just don't want, and that's what I mentioned earlier, having a certain level of maturity when you're talking about self-accountable. You know, when you hold yourself accountable, you don't have to worry about these kind of topics. You know, you don't have to worry about anybody else saying, well, you need to hold yourself, because you know you're doing it yourself. You know, but when you start digging to the why, you on a whole different level. You're not ashamed of it. And you can go on with your
self-acceptance.
It's self-acceptance.
I think
go on your life with peace.
What Keisha just said, and I think I kind of understand because I've also had it happen both ways, where the universe will unfold. She said that for you, but you can't get caught up in the minority of why it will reveal itself. And I've had it happen both ways, where sometimes as I started really thinking about it, I can go right back to tell me you can. Sometimes it comes to you just like that in the universe when
But
you
the
start
whole point
digging.
is
But
that
you
once
already
you get the
looking
why,
for it.
then you really understand.
Then it
the
all-
so what
but
I'm
you
saying
need
is
focus.
the why is
It's
important, whether
necessary,
the
right.
universe at a later date or whether you
When
know
you get it,
actually
but you
need the why, regardless of how you get
How
it,
you
you
get
need
to
that
it.
why in order to truly heal.
And you got to be ready for it. You just got to be ready for it. You got to be ready to receive whatever, if it's coming from the universe, if it's coming from a third party that don't know you, friends.
That's where you have to be. First off, is be able to receive it, and not it can't be someone else's fault why it's happening to you. It's not what they did or they do this.
Dismissive and say, no, that ain't it.
Fit what makes you feel good.
With somebody.
Tucson said white people are the why.
Trump.
Well, like
Drop
I
the
said,
mic. Okay, so
I do kind of agree with two on that one, and like I think we
can't heal from that one.
You
That why
you
to
know,
me
but
is
that's
hard
what, but
for me
that,
to
but
heal
to me
from.
though, I
'Cause
think
they
that a
hit the
lot of
front for
things.
everything.
But that's why I say we need to go back to the men with the men and the
And
women
I
checking
said
the
that
women
wrong.
and then bring it together. Because we are systematically broken down.
Do we know that? Yeah, I hope we know that. Do we know that?
But some
they
people
have conditioned
But you know
us
what?
really,
But there are some people who
don't
will
know that?
argue and say, "No, that ain't got nothing to do with it. We here today to be accountable for the day. Your grandma was a slave, you wasn't." And you have some people that really argue that point. There are really people who really don't agree with that. Our issues stem from that.
I think personally, I'm probably kind of one of those people, because I think that we have to move forward. We can't if you continue to live in the past, you're gonna be stuck there. You know, we know the why already.
That's the why
we gotta move
that.
past that why. Okay, that happened to us. I mean, there are other things that happen to as well. You know, we hold on to it too tight. It's like we still living there. And as long as your mentality is there, what you focus on expands. So we have got to move past that. We got to focus more on learning how finances work. We got to focus more on building business, not just becoming owners of jobs.
Right.
Because an entrepreneur is the owner of a
Exactly.
job. We need to build businesses
And become
but we so
businessmen.
stuck on who holding us back. And when really you holding yourself back, sitting there on the freaking couch playing video games, talking about who holding you back. Get out there and put in the work. Believe in yourself. You know, with the law of attraction, one of the things is you not only attract what you are, but what you are is what you believe. So what you believe you are, you're going to attract things that promote you towards your goals in that area. What you believe.
I'm
But we
get
don't
that. But I
believe
think
we nothing. We believe we still slaves.
No, we believe we can get it, but we got to be
No, we
honest
don't
that there
believe
are
we can
hurdles
get
in
it.
getting it.
There
We have
are
more
too many
hurdles.
people that believe they can't get it. That's why we have so many people who ain't doing
But once
nothing.
again, goes back to people not coming back giving the positive story, because all we hear is the struggle and getting out via basketball. We don't have
But
the
we got
normal
positive
everyday
stories. I mean,
we don't,
you can
but we
pop
don't
in
share
Chris
them
Gardner.
enough.
I mean, those of us who are expanding our minds and experiences and living life, you look back at the people who are sitting there making excuses for why they're not moving forward. It's too many of us moving forward.
We are, but we're not
And we
coming
are
back,
showing-
and we're not
are showing-
sharing,
you
and
see
we're not
Oprah,
pulling
you
forward.
see all of those people out there. You can see positive role models in the community
But
if you're looking for them.
how they got
Is
there?
there anybody that want to listen?
See, that's what I'm saying. So we contradict. So now we make it, and then we say they don't want to listen.
Okay.
You have
But
to
what
come
you're
back
saying
and
is,
give
are
it
there
back.
people who are doing that? 17 years. I would love to tell. I raised kids being self-employed. I ain't punched nobody's clock in over a decade, almost 2 of them. I would love to share that information with people. I have a friend now that's in real estate. He wants to share that information with people. But so where are they, though?
I have a girlfriend. She's one of 2 companies that the Cook County chose, and her and her husband, Black, just filled their classroom with how to do what they do. They didn't have an empty seat. So there are people out there. Are you marketing to the right people? Are you doing that? But to say our people aren't getting it just because they stuck, there are some that are going to use, like I said, we always got the group ever picket sign why they're not going ahead. But there are people out there starving for the information, and the resources are not
getting
there.
That information.
Not everybody. The information is not out there.
I was 20 years old once. I was one of those people that wanted that information.
When you want
it, ain't nobody gonna stop you. You can't drag nobody in there and make them do nothing. Your motivation comes from within. So I don't care how many people are out there sitting around talking about somebody got to come back and tell me something. You got to come to where I am as well. You got to seek that information. Did nobody walk up to my door and say, hey, X, come on out here and let me teach you this? I want to know, and this is what I want to do. And I went out there and got it.
Well, I saw my father in the projects being an entrepreneur, and it was plenty of the brothers that was under my father that wanted to learn. But when you go walk into the banks and you try to get the financing and the grants and things of that, there are more hurdles.
Let's get back over here. Let's go over here. Let's come back to should we learn from past relationships? Yes, if I got the gist of what you all were going back and forth about, going. I think I kind of agree with you, Xavier. I think if we stick on even though I know, Tucson, I know you feel if we really understood racism, we'd never had these conversations. Again, to understand racism more, other than that's a whole nother topic for another day.
Stupidity, that's what it is.
I do know how. I have to be more careful with my choice of words. I do know how. For a different day than right now. What we're discussing is, should Black women take more responsibility? Should we learn more from past relationships? And now we're going to move on to topics, because I hope we took away from this, and if we all could say what I think, if I could sum up some of the good points that were made as far as taking responsibility for women, men, but we're going to stick with women. The blame starting with yourself, and maybe some suggestions was read about it. Go online, just Google, just start there. Just Google, how can I feel better? Look at your patterns. If you're consistently meeting the same guy, and these guys out here are no good, and how you speak of things. Right. If you think that there are no good men, guess what? You're gonna find a whole lot of no good men. So that's what you're gonna feel you're getting. You're not even going to be able to see them. The good guys will come to you and you'll still see him as not. You'll find the one thing that's not good about him and say, see, another no good man. So all while you never changing. While you're never looking. All while you never take a look at yourself. You still burning up hot dogs, talking about he don't know a good cooking deal. So you attract where you are. Make the seeing and dealing with the same things. Please look at yourself, and how to do that is a book. There's so many books out there. Talk to somebody, get mentors. We talked about finding somebody, not in your circle, not all the ones who think like you can co-sign for you, because a lot of times we get a whole lot of co-signers. Girl, you know he did. Yes, no, somebody that thinks so totally different, that is doing where you want to be, would like to be, and say, how did you do that, or how did that work, or how did that mentoring. You guys both mentioned people you know who are doing things, reaching out to those people, saying, Xavier, who that couple you were talking about, doing this in business, I want to be there. Reaching out and asking, because a lot of these people will help you or answer that question. People love sharing their knowledge most times. So if you just taking that moment, so we'd like to take that from that. So kids need the same sexual desires to survive.
Yes.
I don't know if they need the same desires, but they need to have the same level of exploration.
Hey, could you read the sentence?
Right, since I didn't get it. And the fool. Do mates need the same sexual desires to survive? Same page with that. Can you desire one thing, desire something else, and you guys still make it? Can that happen?
But to be fulfilled, yes.
We know how you feel. Let's expound.
I have been in a relationship where we were sexually mismatched, and it was one of the most miserable times of my life. So I would never do that again. And now I'm in one where we are perfectly matched. The great thing.
So what's a mismatch? What's mismatch?
Oh, our sex drive, your desire for the frequency.
Okay.
One of those people that could do once a month or and I'm an everyday kind of girl. So it was just, and then that becomes very frustrating.
Oh, absolutely.
And then it starts to mess with your self-esteem because then I felt like I wasn't desired.
Yeah.
And then when you talk, because to me, sex is one of those things you can't compromise on, because what we did, we talked about it and stuff, and he's like, well, I'm gonna try, because he just didn't have the sex drive, and I know mine is maybe a little different, but so we tried to compromise. So then that meant he was gonna try and have sex more often when he didn't even want it. So then I started to feel like he was doing it out of obligation,
and it wasn't
that's like the worst thing,
like a chore,
like a chore, and then he felt. Because it's like, oh damn, it's Wednesday night. She looking for some,
As a man, you don't want that pressure.
That's not good. That's not good. I would never do that again, ever.
Do you think that takes being honest with yourself, or what? Why do people attempt it? Because the person has everything else they're looking for, so because
you don't want to feel shallow. I stayed in that relationship way too long. I was miserable, but I didn't want to feel. How do you tell people? Everything else is pretty good, but I'm leaving because the sex ain't right. How you gonna say that? People look at you like, for real?
Really?
And then eventually I had to say, yeah, for real. I'm miserable. And this is, I gained weight and everything. I mean, it just really starts to affect you. So I think for me, and this is what I think that people who have strong sex drive, it matters more to them than people who don't have a strong sex drive, because they don't really care anyway.
Facts.
So that's how I think that whole thing plays out.
I can agree with that.
I can agree with that too, and I do believe then they will look at you and say, "How could you?" When they're sex, they don't understand where you're even coming from.
Yeah, they understand.
And now you some type of creep or something because you needed more.
You're a freak.
Yeah, you're a freak, right? I know that's a shame. Wait,
Mark Quinn McDonald. Hi, Mark Quinn, workout expert, said you have to be willing to be open. James T. Smith said most people are sexually illiterate. I ask you to define that.
Yeah, please.
Define sexually illiterate. Sex is spiritual. It will decide your connection if you listen. I think
I agree with that.
Definitely, it bonds that connection, because if you are really involved and connecting on that level, you'll try and work out all of those little things, like when he didn't take out the garbage that day.
It won't mean as much.
It won't mean as much.
It don't mean as much.
Okay, baby.
I've had some days. I've had some days when I was like real irritated about some stuff, and they threw it down, and I'm like,
it's okay, baby.
That's all right. You good?
Yeah, it will definitely.
We all right.
More workable.
Keish said men and women hit their prime at different ages and stages. Women become much more sensual as we get older.
Facts.
And with men being on the opposite, is that some of the reason maybe?
That's why they have pressure. Men be under pressure, girl. They be under pressure when they get their 40s. Right? They be under pressure.
Generalize.
Yeah, we generalize.
That ain't true for me. And I'm 43. I think what happens is men, we start thinking about sex and we start doing things early on. earlier than women. You know what I'm saying? And
then some women, before I get a bunch of things about.
And I think unfortunately what happens is that we get pigeonholed as men, pigeonholed into what we like, when we like it, and we don't evolve as much as women do. Women are evolving and they hit that peak that Keisha was talking about. We're kind of like plateaued. And I think if you have a woman that's down for you and she's committed to the relationship, not necessarily be on freak status.
Why did you look at me? Why'd you turn that when you said that?
You know, because you know what? With all due respect,
maybe because no.
Right. So with all due respect, what it sounds like was happening in that situation. Perception is here with you, but there's a lot of stuff in the middle. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a compromise somewhere in there.
No,
it don't sound like it was a compromise with you.
No, I've lived what Xavier is saying as well.
But he has to do it more.
For her, that's what the story is.
Very similar.
I was going to say, I think that her story is quite.
It's quite accurate.
Yeah,
you can't do it.
It's very relatable.
Yeah. Well, I don't believe every woman hits their peak at 40. Some people.
There's no way we can say every woman does. That's impossible. There's some women who don't even have the sexual desire.
Some women probably don't.
I believe that all women at a certain age. I took a survey. I would say I meet a whole lot of who say, or they're more comfortable with themselves. I won't maybe say a sexual peak, but I think you stop caring what other people think of you talking about sex, having sex. That sometimes we become a little bit more liberated from the conditioning of sex is bad and you shouldn't talk about it, you shouldn't have it, and maybe does that add to it?
That's very true. That's very true.
The about like sex when like from male perspective is we don't really know, I would say, like what other men like do or don't do. Like we don't have that conversation. We don't really talk about like things your body go through or whatever. We don't really have that conversation. There's like certain general things that you talk about, like, you know, you always hear as you get older, you know, testosterone or something like that, or you get to the point where you have the thing where they say, you know, once a man finds out how he likes to have sex, he really doesn't come off of that or whatever. But it's not really something that men get. No, I'm right. I'm just saying, you know, and he was like one of the first people who said that. And then you just think about it, you're like, oh, you know, you're kind of right.
It's every day.
Right. But it's not like something that men genuinely explore as a conversation, like with others. A lot of tabooism that goes along with men and sexuality. So we don't really discuss all that stuff, you know.
Yeah, because when they start getting, label stuff when you want to explore stuff.
Let's do not. Don't go down what they explore is.
That's why I left it like that. That's why I just left. You see, I closed my eyes. I didn't want to make no comment. I'm like, no, I'm not going there. I'm not going there. But that's what that means.
So can the relationship last? Will it survive?
Like I said, I think it can. I don't think it would be I don't think you're fulfilled, but I think it can. I mean, people compartmentalize certain things or whatever. But if somebody wants sex and somebody don't, that could be stressful.
I only say,
but those are the extreme scenarios. Again, those are the extreme scenarios.
And the other ones are just the kinky.
What's a more common scenario then?
I think, but you know what? I think it's probably a little more common than we think. Like when I talk to like married people or whatever, hear it, sometimes
somebody always wanted more than the other.
Yeah, I think it might be a little bit.
You're talking about within a marriage, though, right?
Like within the marriage, or just a serious relationship, a long-term relationship,
Because I would question if it's happening like in relationships as often, because what you hear, unfortunately, sometimes is people that have been dating for years, and during the dating stage, they get it in like rabbits, but for some strange mystical reason, it just falls off. Now I get it once you add the dynamics of children,
Bills,
and
stress,
bills, and life happens, but and stuff before, maybe the children may or may not have been there. But
that's a very good point.
I think it's the pressure though, because you got other people's lives in your hand or whatever. But I still think once again that comes from us not saying that it can be done balanced. That we compartmentalize things that men should do or women should do instead of just figuring out how it works for the family, for everybody workload to be free and early so we can get up in this bed a little bit earlier because we ain't got all we didn't handle that.
You know what though?
Instead of the wife cooking and getting the kids ready for bed. Where the camera? Men, help out with the house chores. You complaining about sex? Kids with the homework. Unless you don't know how to read.
But you know what?
They know how to do the new math.
Men don't know how to read though.
But you know what? You know what I think probably affects the sex is that when you, not necessarily just the stress, but when you move in with somebody, the interaction change.
Absolutely.
And it's like, I've heard it described as like you marry your girlfriend and then you end up living with your mother.
Oh, dang.
And like a lot of times, basically the person who is across from you is like complaining about all the stuff you're not doing. And all of a sudden she not sexy no more.
She's not
annoying.
Annoying.
Well, that's because, but like you say, but that's getting back to making the right choice in the beginning and all that stuff. Because and we're not sharing the good things because I can share. I like to share positive.
I don't know if it's.
Well, I don't think that has.
I don't know if it's
met
the right.
And you were doing all the things, and now they stopped being the. And share their positive story. Does that change this person's relationship?
Well, it helps them. No, I'm saying, but the reason why, just like the reason why the sex thing is going to work if it's not good, because we keep telling people you can't have everything you want.
Yep.
That's what I'm keep trying to get us back to. If we keep promoting that these things can't happen, so they're not going to happen. Same way we just said, if you keep saying ain't no good men out here, you're going to keep getting no good men. He said that when they move in, the dynamics change. It goes from the girlfriend to the mom, but that's once again because you haven't chose correctly. Because if you do the right thing,
that's not necessarily the case. It's sometimes you can choose a good mate. Is that like when you move in and all of a sudden you have other things, like because when you live away from somebody, there's still some sort of mystery with that. And when you move in with somebody, dynamic is totally different. Like all of the things that you thought it was kind of irritating, now it's 3D.
Okay, so then that's not the person. You gotta choose to end that.
But you don't know that until
you don't know that until you actually get in.
You do that,
you don't know that until you get into.
We're selling that. That's what I'm saying. We're still selling that happens. When
it does
there's
happen.
Other things that there's plenty of people that move in and they realize that they can coexist and can cohabitat, and no one turns into nobody's mother. The lunch dates don't stop. Right. And so that's what I'm saying.
Karen, can I ask you a question?
Yes, go ahead.
How many people have you lived with somebody? How many people have you lived with?
I've lived with one person.
Okay, I've lived with a few people, including my husband, and that I don't think that's necessarily true. Because for me, living together is like that next level. Because it just opens up so many other opportunities. I think that if you've only lived with somebody one time, and I'm just saying if you're responding from your personal experience,
because I wasn't,
you have just that experience, but I've lived
because I wasn't.
But we are running out of time. Y'all.
And I disagree with what you said.
Okay, wait a minute. We gotta stop. We out of time.
You can say
I'm sorry.
You can say that's yours.
We gotta stop.
You can say that's
I did.
Okay. Just because you look back from the mic doesn't make you not say it. Come on up here, just say it.
You can say that's not your experience, but I've had this conversation with Mary.
Okay, so you've been listening to He Said, She Said on IntellectualRadio.com. I want all my guests to say what they have going on. And baby, I'm gonna start with you because I want you to have time to mention your book.
Okay, yes, I have a book coming out. We're looking at December 17th for the book launch, so make sure that you check me out on Facebook for the location, Xavier Fox, XAVIA FOX. The book is called The Men in My Life and What I've Learned, so it'll be kind of about learning the lessons from relationships. It starts with my dad. I'm a daddy's girl. I did grow up with a father, so there's a lot of
Praise
little
God.
tidbits in there as well.
December 17th.
December 17th is
Okay.
going to be the book launch. So, and check me out on my website, XavierFox.com.
All right, and I'll be posting that for you guys. Okara, how can they reach you?
You can reach me on Facebook, Okara Hollis. I'm the only one. Okara H on everything else, Twitter. What's that other one? Instagram.
Okay, Lemuel.
I'll just leave you with Lemuel, aka Liam. Love yourself.
All right, Valencia Jackson on Facebook.
Hey, join my group. He said, she said, please. We talk about these topics all week long. We're going to be meeting up December 8th, the women versus the men. And women, please bring some sports knowledge with you. Find your girl, bring them. We're going to plant them in the audience. That's at room 183, 4167 West 183rd Street in Country Club Hills, December 8th. We're going to come out women. We're going to win at least one of these times. And thank you to all my sponsors. I want you to check out the Hot Mix. We're running late because hopefully they'll be coming in. We got 5 o'clock Jaw Jacking, 6 o'clock Chicago Millionaires, 7 o'clock Side Streets and Intersections, 8 o'clock the Ladies of Pod Chicago. And thank you to our super producer, Earl Winfrey. Appreciate you all the time. And I want you to come back here to He Said, She Said, same time, same place next week, 2 o'clock at IntellectualRadio.com.
Atlantic Heights tonight. What's inside? I won't fight tonight.